Through the maintenance door, we find a terminal that contains some tickets that had been filed, so the vault dwellers fled. Here we see again the response to that ticket about the noises in the vents. Maintenance inspected the vents, but they could not find a source of the problem. A second ticket reported a possible gas leak. At least they think it's gas. Many of them are having respiratory symptoms. They did a diagnostic of the air circulation system and discovered minor discrepancies in the mass of air being pumped through the vault, but no harmful gases. However, they did detect a strange residue in the air filters. They swapped out the filters just in case. But we're starting to understand how so many people in the vault could have become infected. The air circulation system was circulating the spores that came from the caves. They're very active trying to figure out what was going on, might have made the problem worse. The maintenance men who changed the filters were exposed firsthand to these spores, also while climbing in and out of the ducts looking for whatever was causing the noise. They then could have brought it back to the common area and exposed others to the airborne spores. Here we find a flamer with a whole lot of flamer fuel. I think Obsidian is trying to tell us something with this. We may need to use this flamer later. The next door brings us into the clinic. No monsters in here, but an interesting room has a whole bunch of medical cases. Case number 162 is that of Professor Harrison Peters. He came to the clinic suffering a severe case of pneumonia. This is the pneumonia that he caught when he went to the cave to help retrieve the missing scientist. The doctors here noticed the spread of some sort of microorganism in his lungs. They tried applying the usual treatments, but nothing seems to be working. Then an entire group of vault dwellers showed up with many of the same symptoms. Pam, Michael, Samwise, Naoki, and Kenneth. Since Dr. Peters' condition has worsened since then, this has made the doctor in the clinic very nervous. He says, "I hope we don't have a contagion on our hands." We learn that Dr. Peters' body is actively rejecting any treatment that the clinic is trying to give him. It's so bad that the clinic is on the cusp of ordering an exploratory surgery. Another group of vault dwellers were admitted to the clinic. Elizabeth, Marcia, Amy, Herman, Veronica, James, Robert, Amanda, Donald, Iris, Stephen, and Nicholas. Oh my goodness, this is indeed a contagion, with all of the same symptoms as Dr. Peters. Chills, a fever, a terrible racking cough. The doctors in the clinic immediately quarantined these people from the general populace. In the next terminal, they talk about Dr. Peters' death. We already learned that he had died. But these doctors were so curious that they ordered an immediate autopsy, whereupon that they discovered that his lungs were filled with some sort of fungal infection. The fungus, however, was not dead. It was still alive despite the death of its host. The doctors then sent a sample to the mycologists on the 5th level to see if they could identify it. Most disturbingly, the last entry talks about the reanimation of Peter's corpse. The reporting doctor in the clinic says, "I don't really know how to describe what just happened. One minute I was closing up for the day, and the next, Dr. Peters' corpse sat straight up and attacked me. He was able to flee with his life." And they locked Dr. Peters' corpse in the office. And it's here that the terrible truth dawns on this doctor. If this happened to Peters, and everyone else is having the same symptoms, this could be the fate of the entire vault population. While exploring the bedrooms, at last, we find the Vault 22 cave door keycard lying on a shelf next to a battery attached to a lamp. It's also in these rooms that we find Vault 22 jumpsuits. These are going to be important for the quest Suits You, Sarah, which we will cover in another episode, so be sure to take all of the vault suits you find. But most disturbingly, in one of these rooms, we have to kill a spore carrier runt. This is a spore carrier that is disturbingly smaller than many of the others, and also in this room we find a baby carriage. Could this spore carrier runt be a baby or small child that became infected, died, and turned into this creature? I don't even want to contemplate that. With this floor explored and our path down blocked, our only option is to go back up to the 3rd floor and use the key card to activate the terminal to allow us to open the door to the caves. As soon as we open the door, we immediately get attacked by mantises. These must be the mutated bugs that were at one point attracted to the substance excreted by the experimental plants. Continuing along, we find a fork in the road. Going right leads us uphill towards the oxygen recycling floor of the vault. Inside, we do not find enemies, but it's here that we find the HEPA cartridge filters. These are important, remember, for the Brotherhood of Steel quest that we're not doing right now, but we can certainly save them to complete the quest later. The opening back into the vault is blocked, so our only option is to go back the way we came. We find a pathway to the left leading down to the 5th floor, but instead we're going to continue to explore these small pathways where we come upon even more mantises. And it's here at the very end that we find the mantis eggs. These are the eggs we need to give to Red Lucy in the Thorn. Heading back, we can finally go through the door to enter the 5th floor of the vault. This brings us to a laboratory. We can loot Tales of a Junktown jerky vendor on one of the desks, and here we find an active terminal. This gives us more information about the types of experiments that Vault-Tec was doing here. We learned that they experimented with the Venus flytrap. Vault-Tec genetically modified it to grow bigger and to spit a type of nectar that lures prey to its mouth. The next experiment was on Mantis religiosa, and we learned that Vault-Tec brought the mantises with them. They were always here in the vault. They specifically tried to engineer a type of insect that exceeded in terms of predation. The praying mantis was the perfect one because it's voracious, has a natural camouflage, and they're cannibals. As good hunters, they were able to track down and eliminate pests, and when they run out of food, they end up eating each other, which keeps the population under control. And lastly, we learned that the airborne spores came directly from a Vault-Tec experiment. I'm probably going to be butchering this Latin, but the spores were called Bovaria mordicana. It was specifically developed to colonize the bodies of pests. Once it colonized a host body, the host dies, but the body continues to move by means of the fungal colony within it. In this manner, the fungus continues to move, to hunt down prey, and spray spores upon anyone who comes near it, allowing spores to populate new hosts. Well, come on, Vault-Tec. Good grief. Couldn't you see what was going to happen? It looks like they did this experiment to try to get rid of pests. I'm assuming roaches and rats. But could they not see that this could potentially be transferred to humans? Or were they so arrogant that they thought that they could handle it? They could maintain and control the spores? That they could limit infection only upon the creatures that they were experimenting upon? As we clearly see from this Vault-Tec failed, leading to the ruination of the entire vault and the deaths of dozens of people. Continuing down, we fight even more spore creatures, and at last we come upon the Venus flytrap monsters. It's safer to dispatch these from a distance, but we must be careful, because they can spit that nectar at us. And it's here that we see a very familiar friend. Glowing fungus in the cave just outside the window. Reminds me of my days building Vault 88. I got surprised by one of these spore carriers. I found one over a barricade and I thought I could shoot it from safety until it leapt up at me. I won't make that mistake again. This level is the toughest level. We not only have the Venus flytraps and the spore creatures, but we get swarmed by praying mantises. Once we kill all of the enemies, we find a room that has a terminal. This is the terminal that has the research data that Thomas Hildern asked us to retrieve. After downloading the research data, we can explore the final room to find a cave hidden behind a console that has been pushed away from the wall. Following it brings us to a very large chamber. It's great to have Boone with you when you're in this chamber because his companion perk highlights enemies. It's so dark here that you won't see some of the enemies until you come up right on them, but with his perk we can see them a great distance away. This allows us to snipe them from safety. Once all of the mantises and the spore plants have been safely dispatched, we can explore this large chamber. And following a light, we finally find Keely.
Took your sweet time. I suppose the NCR sent you? These plants have gotten completely out of control. I've got a plan to deal with them, but I'll need your help. Meet me on the 2nd level, and I'll explain what needs to be done.
If we agree to help her, we meet her back on floor 2. She meets us at the elevator and compliments us on our repair work.
What's this? Did you do these repairs? Not bad. Not bad at all. Saves me time, I guess. See you upstairs.
On floor 2, she tells us her plan.
Good, you're here. Ready to begin? This place is filled with spores that are toxic to humans, and we need to get rid of them. I've pumped the vault full of a highly flammable gas that, once ignited, should destroy the vast majority of spores. There's one problem, though. The gas becomes semi-inert on exposure to oxygen, meaning the gas will have to be ignited close to where it's being introduced. I need you to find the vents where the gas is being pumped and ignite it. Oh, and survive the resulting blast.
All right, well, I do understand her argument. We gotta make sure that these spores do not leave the vault, otherwise it could spell the end of humanity as we know it. But do we really have to be so close to the blast?
Yes, there'll be an explosion when the gas is ignited, but I'm sure you'll be fine. Now leave me to my work.
This is an optional part of the quest, but if we agree to help, we can then go back down to the 5th level. Before we ignite the fire, we can loot a rare weapon. In a locked door with a very easy lock, we can go up a set of stairs, kill a few mantises to find a skeleton on the floor. Next to the skeleton is the AER-14 prototype laser rifle. Perhaps these are the remains of one of the mercenaries that was sent before us. He might have locked the door and hid himself away, only to be attacked by mantises who worked their way into the room via the air ducts. We can also loot some energy cells. Here, as we were told, we find a distortion in the air next to some vents. Clearly there's some gas in these hallways, and we can use any flammable weapon to ignite it. Now we understand why Obsidian left us a flamer with so much flamer fuel. But really, any energy-based weapon can help here, including a laser. Oh dear. All right, we're gonna have to reset our strategy here. Let's try a little bit further away. Okay, nope, that's not gonna work either. Next I tried throwing long fuse dynamite and then running back to the research lab and closing the door. But that didn't work either, and of course that makes sense. There are a bunch of air circulation vents all throughout this vault. I finally succeeded by throwing the dynamite, hiding in the room with the cave, closing the door, and then running back into the cave. From here I could safely witness the explosion. Once the deed was done, I could then go back to Keeley.
Ah, good. I was beginning to think you hadn't. You'll be pleased to know that the spore should no longer be a problem. Now all that's left is to ensure that none of this ever happens again. The research that led to these abominations must be erased. I've managed to create a connection to the vault's backup system from here. I just have to remotely delete all the files, and we're done here. That's strange. The system says that the files were accessed recently and copied to an external source. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
Yeah, we actually copied that earlier for Hilda.
There's nothing for it, then. Those files need to be erased. Hold out your arm and I'll have it done in a flash.
We have a choice here, and this allows us to complete the quest in a number of ways. If we hand over the data to get erased, we don't get as many caps from Hildern when we go to turn in the quest. But if we refuse to destroy the data, Keeley attacks us, forcing us to kill her, and we suffer a huge karma hit. Now, if you have a science of 70 or above, you can pass an option that allows you to turn the data back into Hildern without Keeley turning hostile. But this character does not, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with Keeley and destroy the data. After all, we've already seen what this kind of research can do.
Glad you're thinking clearly. I was afraid to blink there for a second. There, all done. That wasn't so bad, was it? I've unlocked the door, so you're free to run along now. Although it pains me to say it, I wouldn't have made it out of here without your help. If you're heading back toward McCarran, tell Dr. Williams that she has my thanks as well.
Once done, we can head back to Camp McCarran and speak with Angela Williams to complete the quest.
Keeley just called in. You should have heard the director. But wait up. Now look here. She wouldn't let him finish a sentence. Just reamed him out for sending all those people to the vault. I've never seen his face so red and twitchy. Thanks for keeping her safe. Here's the caps I promised. I knew I had a good feeling about you.
If we go talk to Hildern, he thinks that we were not responsible for the loss of the data.
I received a pleasant call from Dr. Keeley. It seems we have you to thank for keeping her alive. Very charitable of you.
But once he finds out that you were complicit in the decision to destroy the data, he becomes irate.
You were a part of this? After we made an explicit agreement, you have the fucking goal to destroy priceless scientific data? The authorities are going to hear about this. They're going to know your name. They're going to know your goddamn face. Now get out of this office. Get out.
Well, he was a bit of a tool to begin with, so I'm not upset that he's mad at me. And finally, we can go back to the Thorn to hand the mantis eggs over to Red Lucy.
Good work, stranger. The Thorn will nurture these eggs until their hatchlings are ready to bleed for us. Here's a compensation for your service. I trust that we're in agreement over it.
And that is the story of Vault 22, another sordid tale of scientific hubris at the expense of humanity. To recap the story, Vault 22, unlike many of the other vaults in the game, was inhabited exclusively by scientists. Every human being there was a scientist employed by Vault Tech to research 3 different creatures: the Venus flytrap, the praying mantis, and a fungus that produces spores. Vault Tech was trying to re-engineer these plants to help humanity with pest control. That's right, Vault Tech was trying to breed exterminators to put human exterminators out of business. It may be that these experiments were done on the 5th floor unbeknownst to the other scientists working on the other floors. This is why we find the other floors focusing on different tasks, like improving the oxygen output of plants and researching ways for plants to grow underground without natural sunlight. This may also explain why the scientists on the other floors were confused by the spore samples they found in the lungs of their own dead and sent the samples to the 5th floor. But the scientists on the 5th floor were reckless and allowed some of the plants and the spores to escape the vault, probably through air ducts, where they found their way into the cave behind the vault and reproduced, continuing to evolve for decades, without being monitored by the scientists on the 5th floor. As the population of plants and insects grew in the cave, they began to make noises that could be heard from the air vents within the vault. The scientists sent a security detail to go inspect, and upon contacting them from the cave and also the spores in the air filters, the spores transferred to human hosts, specifically Dr. Peters. Once Dr. Peters was brought back into the vault, the spores then infected many of the other vault dwellers, causing a contagion. Those infected died, and as they were designed to, the spores reanimated the corpses to hunt down further prey. 200 years later, the NCR sends mercenaries to the vault, all of whom probably died and suffered similar fates, having their bodies occupied by the spores to then attack you when you arrived. But this leaves us with one burning, unanswered question. Whatever happened to the dwellers of Vault 22? Did they all die after getting infected by these spores? Well, no. Most did, but some survived. And we will discover their ultimate fate when we do our video on the Zion Canyon, so stay tuned for that. One thing I love about Fallout New Vegas is that each location is tied to 3 or 4 different quests, each of which will send you to even more locations. In the process of shooting this video, I was introduced to a whole bunch of more locations that I will make new videos about. So if you want to make sure that you do not miss my New Vegas videos when I publish them, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell icon to become notified. And I've been working hard with Teespring to create a bunch of Fallout 4 and Oxhorn themed shirts. So if you're interested in picking up a cool new t-shirt, check out the link to my Teespring shop in the description below. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my community Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, I'm just so glad that you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.
Welcome! This is the combined, complete Fallout DLC review and ranking video. In this video, I'll be combining all my previous Fallout DLC videos and then ranking all the DLCs against each other across all 3 games to determine the real, final DLC god of the modern Fallout series, all in one convenient place. I'll also be fixing a few mistakes I made in my past videos, as several commenters have pointed out, as well as expanding out some points further. This is all just my opinion, so do not take these points and rankings as gospel. God help you if you do. And let me know how you'd rank any of these DLCs differently. It's always interesting to read the reasonings you guys give for your opinions on these expansions. But with that out of the way, I'll waste no more of your time and jump right into the Fallout 3 DLCs. Fallout 3. Good old Oblivion with guns. Love it or hate it. you can't deny its impact. I mean, without it, you don't get New Vegas, so I gotta give credit where it's due. This game took the smelly, fly-infested, rotting corpse of the Fallout series, resurrected it, changed the core foundations of the series, redefined what a Fallout game even is, and catapulted the series back into mainstream relevance almost immediately. Which is extremely impressive, as changing a game from a classic-style isometric CRPG to a first-person shooter action RPG and actually sticking the landing isn't easy. And since I've already reviewed and ranked the DLCs for New Vegas and Fallout 4, I decided that it would be again cool and fun to take a look at the Fallout 3 DLCs and round out the modern Fallout trifecta. For this video, I'll be going in order of release again, except for Broken Steel, which I'll go over first, as it's the most unique out of the 5 DLCs released. Yes, I made a mistake in my Fallout 4 video when I said,
well, Fallout 3 and New Vegas had 4 expansions each.
Because I'd forgotten that Fallout 3 actually had 5 DLCs instead of 4. Whoops! But that aside, let's not waste any more air, and let's take a look at the first expansion, Broken Steel. DLC number 1, Broken Steel. Broken Steel mostly exists as a fix for an issue of Fallout 3's. That being the fact that the player was unable to continue playing and exploring after the Activate Project period at the end of the main questline. As pre-Broken Steel, once you turn on the Purifier, your character assumedly dies from radiation exposure from the Purifier. But now, thanks to Broken Steel, instead of being reloaded back in front of the Purifier he just died in, you now wake up 2 weeks later in the Citadel's hospital. Quick side note though, Broken Steel only starts when you yourself turn the Purifier on. I tried to get Fox to say the classic line where he rejects you when you ask him to turn on the Purifier, and he cites destiny as the reason he can't go in and turn it on, despite him being a super mutant and fully immune to the deadly radiation blast the Purifier shoots out. Curiously, it seems Fox's dialogue has in fact been updated, and he will now actually go into the Purifier and turn it on when you ask him. He even takes a jab at the original line, saying that he would have thought it destiny, but since we changed his, he would do it for us. Even Bethesda knew how ridiculous that ending was. But if you do that, that doesn't actually start Broken Steel, weirdly enough. Once Fox turns it on, the game just reloads you back to the Purifier, so you can go in and turn it on the right way this time. Anyway, we wake up to Elder Lion's 4K Ultra HD wrinkles, and he tells us that we've been out cold for about 2 weeks, and that the Purifier had been successfully turned on, with the Brotherhood of Steel hard at work handling bottling and distribution of the newly clean water. We also learn that even though we had spanked the Enclave at the Jefferson Memorial, they still pose a large threat to the Wasteland and need to be destroyed for good. Shit, they're still not done? Despite having their base blown up, their ChatGPT-powered president destroyed, their general dead, and a large number of their power-armored soldiers and vertebrate fleet decimated in the battle for Project Purity, it seems they aren't ready to give up their water-poisoning dreams quite yet, and Lyons tasks us with helping the Brotherhood put them down for good, awarding us knighthood for our efforts. Kind of a crappy reward, but at least he's acknowledging us. So we head out to find Scribe Rothschild to plan our next move. Rothschild gives us a sweet PowerPoint presentation of movements the Enclave has made while we were out cold. We learn that the Enclave, despite suffering a decapitating strike to its leadership, is suffering 2 consecutive crushing defeats. Their command hierarchy has remained intact, and their communications are still in operation. Rothschild tells us that the transmissions have been tracked to a military base in the southwest, and we are to go meet up with Paladin Tristan, where we will assault the base with Liberty Prime from a collapsed car tunnel. After reaching the tunnel and linking up with the Brotherhood, we exit the tunnel to begin our assault on the base. For a game from 2008, this battle is pretty cinematic and bombastic, a lot like the assault on Project Purity from the end of the main questline. Liberty Prime leads the charge, lasering Enclave goons and chucking his nukes like footballs at them, all while spouting his pretty hilarious anti-communism lines. I've always been a big fan of Liberty Prime. He fits well into not only the technology of Fallout, but also the humor and satire of the series as well. And it's always funny to watch him call the Enclave communists and then huck a football at them like a quarterback.
Play caller, Brian.
But also like its Project Purity counterpart, this battle is much more spectacle than it is any actual engaging gameplay. Liberty Prime and the other Brotherhood of Steel soldiers make mincemeat out of the opposing Enclave soldiers real fast, and you the player can only usually get a handful of kills in before your allies completely obliterate them. But despite the assault going well, tragedy still strikes. The Enclave call in an orbital strike on Liberty Prime, and in his last moments, Prime urges us to retreat from him before being destroyed in the orbital strike. He made the ultimate sacrifice and died as a true patriot. I salute you as a true American, Prime. As for why the Enclave didn't call in an orbital strike on Liberty Prime during the battle for Project Purity, or drop an orbital strike on the Citadel at any given time, I'm not sure. Maybe the strike would have been too powerful or something and it would have destroyed the Jefferson Memorial. Or maybe they didn't get it working until after the battle for Project Purity or something. Whatever the reason, they really could have used it then is all I'm saying. But regardless, with Prime now gone, Tristan cracks the whip on us to go in the base and find out where they called in the orbital strike from. So we fight through a base full of Enclave troops, Business as usual for Fallout 3, and retrieve data on the orbital strike from the base's mainframe, and return back to Rothschild to give him the data to examine. He tells us Lyons wants to speak with us again and is in disbelief that Liberty Prime has been destroyed, which I totally understand. I would be pissed if my epic patriotic mech got destroyed too. So we speak with Lyons, who's pretty shaken up by the loss of Liberty Prime, saying something along the lines of, "It's over. Liberty Prime has fallen. Millions must give up the fight." But I reassure him that everything will be fine because I'm just a beast and an absolutely elite Enclave Slayer. And he tells me to go link up with Tristan for a new assignment. We speak to Tristan again, who assigns us a mission to go fetch a Tesla coil from the old Only sewers to develop a new weapon with. It seems he's sending us on a late game combat skill check, as I'm pretty sure old Only is the most dangerous area in the base game of Fallout 3, as it's completely infested with Deathclaws. So I make my way north to Olney, and after searching the place for the sewer entrance, for some reason the map marker got moved to a metro station I passed down in DC and didn't actually point to the actual entrance of the Olney Power Works, so I had to spend some extra time and resources fighting off Deathclaws while I tried to find the entrance. I eventually find the entrance in an alley surrounded by dead bodies and miscellaneous flesh and gore, and enter the sewers. The sewers are more of the same as on the surface. You're just killing more Deathclaws, but now in a more confined space. Once we get through the sewers and chat up that guy from Twitter, we enter the only Power Works where we fight, you guessed it, more Deathclaws. And this section is the most Deathclaw-y of them all. I even had to bust out the Fat Man indoors to clean out a room that had 3 Deathclaws loitering around in it. This DLC does not play on the late game combat. We continue on and fight some more Enclave soldiers and a squad of sentry bots until we reach the heart of the Power Works and find the Tesla coil in an electrified pit with some pretty cool looking lightning effects shooting out of it. We pick up the Tesla coil with our bare fucking hands, youch, and return to the Citadel. Tristan tells us they have tracked the Enclave to Adams Air Force Base, and the only way to reach it is through the presidential metro station. He also takes the coil from us and tells us it'll be used to make a Tesla cannon, a new heavy weapon that melts enemies with an electric blast. I make my way to the tunnel, and along the way get ambushed by Talon Company thugs who want me dead for being too nice of a guy or something. Who the hell am I ops with here? Satan himself? But I quickly pack them up and then head off to the presidential metro. This metro station is another challenging combat area, full of turrets, tanky Mr. Gutsy robots, sentry bots, feral ghouls, and most dangerous of them all, the newly added feral ghoul Reaver. Holy shit, the Reavers in Fallout 3 are jacked. They're spongier than Bob himself. Having a health pool on par with a Deathclaw, they can throw radioactive poop at you now for big damage, and they also hit like a truck. All that coupled with the extremely fast and jerky ghoul movements and the relatively small hitboxes make this enemy a fucking nightmare to deal with. I fear these things more than actual Deathclaws. These bastards that also sucked me dry of stim packs, which at least for me were pretty weak at restoring health, even with a maxed out medicine stat and having the fast metabolism perk. One stim pack only restored about 1/5 of my health, so I was hitting that pack pretty often. But thanks to my god tier gaming skills and a little bit of shoddy programming, we take down the Reaver and hop on the train to the AAFB, complete with a train riding animation. Neat. I get off the train, fight a few more soldiers, and exit to Adams Air Force Base, which is a pretty sizable, impressive looking area. Although it's still pretty linear, as many areas are blocked off by Enclave force fields. The best comparison I can make is that it's pretty similar to Hopeville and Lonesome Road. I pilfer the supply cache that the Brotherhood had left me, which includes a newly built Tesla cannon, which is an absolute beast of a weapon. It fires a large electric blast that deals massive damage and deals even more electricity damage over time. And it only uses 1 electron charge ammo per shot, and I had thousands of rounds shoved into my back pocket. And it's an absolute lifesaver for the Adams Air Force Base, as this area may be the longest and toughest battle in the entire game. The base is huge and infested with tough Enclave soldiers, and turrets are peppered all over the buildings. The difficulty was compounded even more by the fact that I had burned through all my stim packs to get here, so that Tesla cannon is pretty much essential. But I forgot to use it. I was too caught up in trying to survive the first part of the base, and didn't even whip that shit out until later in the quest. Probably would have saved me some time and deaths, but oh well, my bad. But once we take out or run by the Enclave troops, we enter their true base of operations, a fully functional base crawler. Impressive technology. Inside we fight some Sigma males and even more Enclave goons, and the crawler is a pretty large and labyrinthian building. It's pretty visually interesting with contrasting blue and amber colors throughout the base. We also run into a guy named Stiggs, a mechanic employed by the Enclave. I'm pretty sure he's the only Enclave-aligned NPC who doesn't immediately try to kill us on sight, and we can actually talk to him to learn more about the facility. Unfortunately though, Stiggs doesn't really have anything interesting to say about the Enclave, nor can we learn any new info about them. from him. Him being the only NPC in the Enclave we can actually talk to is pretty disappointing. This DLC had the potential to grow some interesting stories and characters to fight. I could learn more about the goals and the people in it. But since this is Bethesda, they usually prefer to stay in the shallow end of the lore pool. We don't even get a new Enclave commander to duel with or anything. The Enclave is apparently just Stiggs and 30,000 unnamed power armor clad soldiers. After talking with Stiggs, we head upstairs and clear out the area. This area being a pretty dense and interesting area to explore. I even got lost trying to open the door to the roof, and actually used the intestine cannon to go much faster. I eventually find my way and open the door and get on the roof, and even with the Tesla cannon, it's a pretty tough fight up here. Enclave troops drop in from vertebrates and attack you from all angles, and I was getting spanked a little bit. But I eventually make it through and enter the heart of the colonies, where I access the mainframe and target the claw with the orbital strike. At this point, you can either target the Enclave base or one of the capital wasteland settlements, which is essentially a do you want to be good or evil choice, as all the settlements available for targeting are friendly settlements, so the choice is pretty shallow. It's a more binary version of the Helios 1 quest in Fallout New Vegas, and we escape the base where a now conscious Sarah Lyons picks us up for a sweet vertebrate ride. We land away from the base and watch it get hammered by the orbital strike in a bombastic display. And with that, we take another vertebrate ride back to the Citadel and complete Broken Steel. I feel like Broken Steel is a pretty good atomization of Fallout 3 at large. It has tight, engaging combat that feels pretty intense and challenging, and has some pretty great spectacle to it. Battling alongside Liberty Prime, fighting through the massive Adams Air Force Base and Enclave Collar, and watching the glowing kingdom come via orbital strike was pretty impressive for a 2008 game. But besides the engaging combat and the spectacle, Broken Steel falls pretty flat in pretty much all other aspects. The story builds off of the not great Fallout 3 main questline, which means the issues from that story translate here. The Enclave are still just one-dimensional bad guys, and the only non-openly hostile NPC is pretty disappointing. Broken Steel could have gone a long way in giving the Enclave and its soldiers some more depth and lore. I mean, this is their last hurrah, but they're just here to take another spanking. Even the Brotherhood aren't even that interesting. Owen Lyons just sits in the Citadel feeling anxious all day. Sarah Lyons only shows up at the very end to save us and report that she isn't in fact dead. And Paladin Tristan just exists to bark orders at us. This expansion also doesn't do too much outside of being an endgame combat gauntlet. All the missions require you to mow down dozens of enemies and almost no choices of role-playing opportunities to make. It plays more like Fallout of Duty 3 instead of an actual Fallout game, if that makes sense. Broken Steel also adds 3 side quests to the overworld that all revolve around the effect having clean drinkable water has had on the capital wasteland, and the various complications that it may cause. To start these quests, you go talk to the hilariously overworked Scribe Bigsley at the now functional Jefferson Memorial, whose character model looks so tired and sickly from all the hours at his new post-apocalyptic bureaucratic desk job. Seriously, bro is gangrenous. We offer him some help, and he points us towards helping water caravans out of Rivet City that are being attacked, and Megaton's water shipments getting used up mysteriously quickly. The Rivet City quest is pretty straightforward. Go talk to the officer, go to the caravan's location, which has already been attacked, and on the body of a bandit, we can find a note from the gang's leader, Split Jack, who we learn is planning to attack caravans for their water so often that the caravans will have no choice but to surrender their water to his gang and be forced to pay them a protection racket. Pretty simple stuff in all honesty. Luckily for us though, that note we found also contains a full docs on the gang's base of operations, so we head on over to Wilhelm's Wharf. Upon arriving, we speak with Split Jack to either convince him to stop the attacks, join up with the gang, or kill him. It appears that if you join his gang, you have to turn his back to the way, making it essentially pointless. Outside of the metal armor, even after joining, you'll either have to kill him or convince him to leave. So I Split Jack's, well, you know, and return to the relevant authorities to complete the quest. It's definitely the weakest of the 3, being a simple bandit extermination job. The next quest is much more interesting. After arriving in Megaton to investigate the missing water, an NPC hands us a pamphlet advertising holy water from an upstart religion called the Apostles of Eternal Light, an offshoot of the Children of Adam who seem to be in possession of suspiciously large amounts of water. So we head on over to their church, which is the basement of a blown-up house. It's pretty modest digs. We speak to their doorman, Brother Gerard, who gives us a bottle of the advertised holy water, which we drink and learn is just water that's been irradiated. We need to get to the bottom of this, but Gerard won't let us into the church unless we are irradiated enough. So I ghoulification, which is a pretty interesting development from the base Children of Adam cult. And it makes more sense that ghoulification would be worshipped over just plain old tumor-inducing radiation that Confessor Cromwell rambles about. Despite my requests, Kiri refuses to stop her water poisoning racket, so I was forced to perform some religious persecution. And after wiping out the church and some ghouls they had locked up in their basement, we return to Bigsley to get the final quest. After passing a check, we get Bigsley to reveal to us that he's been dealing some water on the side for some extra caps, and that he's been selling a bunch of water to a ghoul named Griffin, and that he's been peddling it in the ghoul settlement underworld. Unsure as to why a radiation-immune ghoul is buying up barrels and barrels of purified, unirradiated water, we head on over to Underworld to investigate. When we get to Underworld, we find Griffin on a makeshift stage, trying to sell something he calls Aqua Cura to some ghouls. Griffin regales the audience with dubious claims that his Aqua Cura is a miracle substance that can cure any ailment, and with hair like that, how can you not trust him? Well, this smoothskin doesn't. We confront Griffin and ask him about his Aqua Cura, which Griffin claims has a secret ingredient added to it that makes it a miracle medicine. So I buy a bottle off of him for 10 caps, and taking a look at it with my Pip-Boy reveals that the water is irradiated. Damn, scammed again. I press Griffin and he reveals that he's got a hustle going where he sells the clean water to humans, and then just rebottles the Aqua Cura with normal, irradiated cancer water. This guy would have made a killing in the crypto scene. We return to Bigsley to learn more about his business with Griffin, and he tells us that when he sells Griffin the water, they just deliver it to the Museum Authority building at the National Mall, so off we go to investigate. At the Authority, we find it guarded by some luscious-headed ghouls, and we also find where Griffin is running his Aqua Cura rebottling scam out of, and we return to Underworld to confront him. I force him to tell the truth to his buyers, and they fly into a rage and start shooting at Griffin. Griffin ran off into the adjacent room, and when I followed him to watch the chaos, I got attacked by feral ghouls and had to fend them off, which made the ghoul buyers turn hostile on me, which ended predictably. So maybe I should have let things be with Griffin, as revealing the scam with all 5 involved dead. My bad, guys. Although fairly brief, these side quests are pretty enjoyable, playing around with a lot of fun ideas like introducing free clean water to all man cause, which does a lot for world building and making the wasteland feel dynamic. Although these quests could have benefited from a bit of expansion of roleplaying, such as maybe even joining in on Griffin's scheme, or actually being able to fight alongside the water bandits. But overall, 2 of the 3 quests here are some gems. But with that, we can move on to the next expansion, Operation Anchorage. DLC number 2. We got Opposite Anchorage. Operation Anchorage starts when we listen in on the Brotherhood Outcast distress system, which is requesting support on their location. The Brotherhood Outcasts are a splinter faction of the Capital Wasteland Brotherhood, who had broken off from them after they had become disillusioned with Elder Lion's priorities shifting from securing newborn technology and maintaining the Brotherhood's traditional isolation stances to becoming a sort of benevolent police force of the Capital Wasteland, who are more focused on killing mutants and protecting Wastelanders. This shift in mission priorities led many Brotherhood hardliners to believe that these changes would eventually destroy the Brotherhood, as too many lives and resources would be lost in the
Took your sweet time. I suppose the NCR sent you? She's such a dear. Not like that pompous little pedant she works for. But that's neither here nor there. These plants have gotten completely out of control. I've got a plan to deal with them, but I'll need your help. So, you're one of those, huh? Fine. I'll give you all the money I have once we're done. Meet me on the 2nd level, and I'll explain more. This Vault-Tec machinery is so fragile. I had to jury-rig this elevator a few days, and it's on the fritz again already. Ah, that's got it. See you upstairs. Good, you're here. Ready to begin? Time is of the essence, so I'll be brief. This place is filled with spores that are toxic to humans, and we need to get rid of them. I've pumped the vault full of a highly flammable gas that, once ignited, should destroy the vast majority of spores. There's one problem, though. The gas becomes semi-inert on exposure to oxygen, meaning the gas will have to be ignited close to where it's being introduced. I need you to find the vents where the gas is being pumped and ignite it. Oh, and survive the resulting blast. Good. Return to me when it's done. I suppose you have questions. Hurry up and ask them. A few things here and there, but a lot of the data has been corrupted, and all of the live samples have been contaminated by the spore plants. One interesting thing I found is that one of the chemicals secreted by the spore plant serves as a mild stimulant when ingested by humans. As far as I can tell, it has no side effects or addictive properties. Aside from the inherent psychological ones, of course. Now that I think of it, there was a Corporal Farber back in McCarran who'd probably be interested in it. There's a sample of it around here somewhere. Oh yes, I imagine there'll be quite an explosion when the gas gets set off. Fire will probably expand throughout the entire level in mere moments. That does pose a problem, doesn't it? If you could seal yourself inside a room before the explosion went off, you might be protected from the blast. Then again, the flames will probably blow into the rooms down there. Maybe if there were a room that was reinforced. Well, I'm sure you'll figure something out. From what I've been able to determine, the scientists here managed to breed them by combining traits from two distinct plant species. The resulting hybrid proved to be more adaptable than expected, however, and soon became a threat to humans. It's sad, really. All those wonderful minds undone by their own irresponsibility. That's a very good question. Actually, I didn't come up with it. The systems were already set to pump the gas when I first arrived here. I believe the scientists were in the process of attempting to ignite the gas just as we're about to do. And by we, I mean you, of course. Something prevented them from igniting the gas, obviously. I suppose it's possible that the gas triggered some kind of defensive reaction. Hordes of previously slumbering creatures may have awoken and entered a killing frenzy, ripping the hapless scientists into quivering, bloody chunks. You'll have to let me know when you get back from going downstairs. The mantises and spore plants virtually ignored me for most of the time I've been here. It was only once I began to investigate the 5th level that my presence began to agitate them. I guess I was a little too close to home for them. A few days ago, I was attacked by a large number of mantises and was knocked unconscious. When I woke up, I was in that cave. The mantises seemed to feed some of their prey to the plants. Fortunately for me, it appears the plants are disinclined to eat ghoul meat. Bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna help this lady, right? But I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna give this information. And if she gets mad, I'm just gonna look
Why do we always hurt the ones we care about the most? Grenade! Grenade!
Good. You survived. I was beginning to think you hadn't. You'll be pleased to know that the spore should no longer be a problem. Now all that's left is to ensure that none of this ever happens again. The research that led to these abominations must be erased. I've managed to create a connection to the Vault's backup system from here. I just have to remotely delete all the files, and we're done here. Indeed. This should only take a minute. Just a few more moments and... That's strange. The system says that the files were accessed recently and copied to an external source. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? It's possible. I've spent the last few days in a cave, after all. For all we know, that man sent someone immediately after you to swipe the data while you posed as mantis bait. Nothing to be done about it, I suppose. All we can do is delete what's here, and that's done. I've unlocked the door, so you're free to run along now. Although it pains me to say it, I wouldn't have made it out of here without your help. If you're heading back toward McCarran, tell Dr. Williams that she has my thanks as well.
I did all that damn work.
Don't mind me. I have to wrap things up here, gather my gear, that sort of thing. I'll be leaving soon enough.
Alright then, mission accomplished. I would say it took longer than I thought, but actually it took. Thanks to Oxhorn, thanks to the chief, especially one of my favorite games. If you want to know what's my favorite game of all time, Halo 1. The first one. Actually, it might be Halo 2. Nah, the first Halo. That bit thought I came all the way over there to go and delete. She lost her mind. She went crazy. Oh no, it's not the picture. Interesting. What's this?
Let's see what we've got here. Okay, yeah, this is the one I was thinking of. The pulse gun. Although, maybe the rangefinder could work too. And it looks like the NCR was onto some miracle farming technology. Electromagnetic weapon from before the Great War. Experimental. It never saw mass production. But they were building it as a countermeasure to power armor, which they feared the Chinese were developing. Supposedly a prototype was being housed at Nellis. Imagine what it could do to the Brotherhood. We'd be on equal footing with any idiot with a gun. More or less. Supposedly it's a vegetation enhancer. NCR has a science branch headquartered at McCarran Airport. Guess they found something. Guess somebody wasn't very good at keeping secrets either. We never pursue it because it's not a weapon, but self-sufficiency is fundamental to us. If it worked, they'd see the value of an alternate course. If it turns out to be a dud, it'd show how flawed our goals have been. Father Elijah said he thinks a scavenger might have sold it on the strip. Yeah, maybe they'll think twice about engaging the NCR if they know one of those could be floating around. The notes say to look around Nellis Air Force Base. He suggests going through filing cabinets and computers in the commanding officer's quarters. I like the way you think.
Party in here. Chat everywhere, liquor everywhere, cigarettes everywhere. This nigga was chilling.
You're making me carry the heavy stuff, aren't you? Ooh, got something good for me? Is it a dress?
reports say Mr. House's robots are now using tech we've never heard of. We need to send a team up there. Veronica, I hope...
I brought you a present. This disc has secrets of breeding plants that can thrive in the wasteland.
High Elder Maxon didn't found us to be botanists, Veronica.
Think about it. No more trading guns for food. Total self-sufficiency. It's what we always wanted.
This won't get us Hoover Dam.
Yes, it will. If we feed people, they'll support us. They'll join us.
What does the Codex say?
A bunch of closed-minded bullshit.
We do not help them or let them in.
But
we keep knowledge they must never have.
give it a chance. For me. I can't stay here and watch us waste away.
I'm sorry.
We'll die out.
I know.
Come on. I can't listen to this anymore.
Back again, I see. Have you found all the components we need? Please make...
He wouldn't listen. The truth was right there staring him in the face. How could he not listen? No. Our case wouldn't be any stronger if tomorrow they all died when their energy weapons backfired. I just didn't expect that. There was no getting through to him. How can I help them when they won't accept it? Huh. Well, that's imaginative. But it's not really for me. I couldn't get one of their most reasonable members to accept a rational argument. I don't see them coming out in droves to support my coup. And that's really not what the Brotherhood needs right now anyway. They're hanging by a thread. I don't know if I can stay. Maybe it'd be better for everyone if I left. Spent my life somewhere else. Work with the followers of the Apocalypse, maybe. Put my knowledge to some good use. Or I can stay here with the people I care about and do whatever I can until it comes to a slow or sudden end. Not even a hint, huh? Jeez, I really am all alone on this one. I guess I'll stay. If I left, there wouldn't be any coming back. It might be something I'd instantly regret. Things are going to get harder for the Brotherhood before they get easier. I should support them in whatever way I can. Let's get going. I'd like to get my mind off all this, and some fresh air would do me some good, right about now.
We heard Veronica talking with the Elder. We won't stand for this. Respect nothing. She plants a whisper in his ear, poison him against the Codex. No. This has to end now. Execute them.
What do you need? Evening. What do you need?
I received a pleasant call from Dr. Keeley. It seems we have you to thank for keeping her alive. Very charitable of you. Wonderful. Excellent work. Let me see it. It'll take a moment to decode on my terminal. I think Williams' decryption algorithms seem to be working. Yes, here it is. The data is mostly uncorrupted. This will make the board of directors finally sit up and take notice. Here then, as promised, an agreeable sum payable upon delivery of the data. You've more than done your part. You want to renegotiate your contract? This is a very serious matter. You do understand that, don't you? I realize that one's word counts for a little in the wasteland, but amongst civilized people, one doesn't just demand more than one has agreed to. Now, wait a minute. There's no need to do anything rash. Naturally, OSI would be willing to negotiate for exclusive rights to that data. Here, take these caps. That's all of my contracting budget, and it's yours. Now, I've got to get back to work. I'm sure you understand. Exit's over there. You can show yourself out.
Keeley just called in. You should have heard the director. But, wait a... Now look here. She wouldn't let him finish a sentence. Just reamed him out for sending all those people to the vault. I've never seen his face so red and twitchy. Thanks for keeping her safe. Here's the caps I promised. I knew I had a good feeling about you. Thanks again. Really, I owe you.
Yes? What is it? What? Why on earth would you think you...
You're back. I don't know, I'm very... But it bothers me that they didn't break in. It means they have an access code. Most soldiers around the base don't have that. So... Not the kind of things you like to... No witnesses yet. I've got my money on Sergeant Contreras, who's supposed to be in charge of distribution. Good. The more guns you can recover, the more I'll be able to use to shoot Contreras for being inept. Maybe break-in isn't the right word. So...
We won't go quietly. The Legion can count on that.
Can I help you? All right. Thanks. That'll help. All right. Thanks. That'll help. All right. Thanks. That'll help. No, not.
Welcome, sir, or...
You're making me carry the heavy stuff, aren't you?
Welcome, sir, or ma'am. come back.
Come to see the fights over at Lucy?
Until next time.
Come to see the fights over at Lucy?
Welcome back, stranger. Do you have good news for the Thorn? Good work, stranger. The Thorn will nurture these eggs until their hatchlings are ready to bleed for us. Here's a compensation for your service. I trust that we're in agreement over it. You speak the truth, stranger. And the Thorn lives by the justice that honor and strength dispense. Here's a more fitting sum. Bring me a dozen rad scorpion eggs. I'll see to it that you're rewarded fairly. The eggs I seek are not easy to find, stranger. Your best chances are in the mountains north of Good Springs and west from Quarry Junction. You've got yourself a deal. So long, stranger. Welcome back, stranger.
Have you seen that tower on the strip all lit up?
You ever see one of those rangers in black armor? I wouldn't want to make one of those, man.
Going to place me a good bet at the Thorn.
We don't need the NCR.
Won't have to worry
about those fiend.
monster rip a man in half at the Thorn.
Hey there. New Vegas. Paradise my ass.
all share the knowledge that each of them is a murderer. They all share the knowledge that they didn't raid the armory, they just left. And how does the Overseer respond?
You could go take a look around the place.
Golden geckos. These geckos will chart of what went on here. Like the corrupted data in the terminal we read at the pump station, this fragment doesn't tell us the full story, but let's get what we can from it. We learned that the population of Vault 34 is growing. The vault is becoming overcrowded, and the Overseer tells us that with the overcrowding came violence. The violence escalated when the Vault Dwellers were forbidden access to a stash of firearms in the Vault Armory. The original design of the vault did not have the armory connected to the main system, and the armory couldn't be locked. That may have been part of the original experiment. But after the overcrowding became an issue, this Overseer placed guards at the armory door to prevent the troublesome residents from obtaining weapons. Most of the residents of Vault 34 understood why the Overseer made this call, but there was a little bit of opposition. People were afraid that their right to defend themselves was being infringed. Well, this is an interesting turn of events. We first heard of Vault 34 when we met the Boomers. I did an entire video on the Boomers. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check out the Boomers by clicking here. The Boomers originally came from Vault 34. When we go and listen to the history of the Boomers by talking with Pete in the Boomer Museum, he shows us a mural depicting the Boomers emerging from Vault 34. During that presentation, he tells us that one of the reasons the Boomers left Vault 34 is because the Overseer wanted to keep weapons away from them. This is now confirmed in this journal fragment that we have found in Vault 34. The Overseer did indeed want to keep weapons from the residents because the Overseer felt like the overpopulation was going to lead to violence. We learned from the Boomers that weapons are really important to their culture. They feel like it's their right to have weapons, to defend themselves, and they enjoy detonating large explosions. If they came from Vault 34, then that means that most of the Boomers were raised in an environment where they had free, unfettered access to an armory filled with a bunch of weapons. Was this the experiment that Vault Tech was conducting here? To find out what would happen if we filled a vault with hundreds of people to the point of overcrowding and then gave them all free access to an armory filled with guns. Well, I believe the answer to that experiment is manifold. In part, a segment of the population left the vault. These are the Boomers. But the rest of the story has yet to unfold. Where have all of the vault residents gone? Why are these ghouls called Vault Dwellers? What's with all of the radiation, and why is the Overseer's notes in fragments scattered around this vault? We've left the entrance and walked across a catwalk overhanging this cafeteria. This has been a great spot to attack the numerous feral ghouls that have charged us. Some of these have said Vault Dweller, others have said Vault Security. These Vault Security feral ghouls are pretty tricky. It's important to loot as many dressers as we can here in Vault 34, because it's in the dressers where we will find the Vault 34 jumpsuits. These are important to save and give to Sarah Weintraub on the New Vegas Strip in order to complete the quest, Suits You, Sarah. We'll walk away from Vault 34 with a dozen or so Vault suits. Now, we're also here to complete Veronica's companion quest. When we took Veronica to the Hidden Valley bunker to meet with the Brotherhood of Steel, she had a hard time convincing Elder McNamara that the Brotherhood should end the lockdown and be more active in the Commonwealth to refresh their breeding stock, to become more numerous, and to become more important again.